figure out how to put it together. It's fine. Okay.
Hey boys, Rachel's giving a speech, so you guys need to be quiet back there.
Bob?
Me.
Okay. Spanking, beating, hitting, swatting, smacking, pinching, caning to belting. These are some common verbs used to describe corporal punishment. Corporal punishment arises in two main contexts. As a method of discipline at school or in home, or as a form of punishment for committing a crime. We've all heard the statement of our fathers threatening to get the belts. Perhaps we've even experienced that infamous belt ourselves. A survey I conducted earlier this week states that 85% of the people between the ages of 19 to 49 were spanked as children. I imagine a couple of those spankings included a belt or a paddle. Out of those same people surveyed, only 46% have spanked their own children, and 10% would change the past and not spank at all. Americans need to understand that corporal punishment is a form of unnecessary punishment because there are many forms of alternative options for effectively punishing someone for a wrongdoing. So what is corporal punishment? And why have we used it through the years to instill good behavior? Is it possible that another form of less hurtful punishment is just as effective? I'm not standing here in front of you to tell you what to do or the right way to do things. I'm merely hoping that by listening to the good, the bad, and the ugly, the opinions you form about corporal punishment will be that there are less hurtful ways to get your point across. Corporal punishment is defined from the Farley Dickinson University Dictionary as the purposeful infliction of bodily pain or discomfort as a penalty for unacceptable behavior. The physical force or constraint that is used to protect someone from physical injury, to disarm a student, or to protect property from damage is not considered corporal punishment. In most states, corporal punishment is no longer an acceptable form of punishment, especially in a school or prison. Yet why is it okay to punish someone like serious criminals and put them to death? On April 21st, 2011, from an article in Alexandria, Louisiana, where corporal punishment is still allowed, principals now have to file a checklist when using corporal punishment. Parents also have to sign a form that will allow administration to use the paddle. If they don't sign the form, they cannot use this form of punishment. Corporal punishment is an acceptable discipline procedure by law. We try and use it as little as possible, says Ruby Smith, the Rapidas Parish School District's Director of Child Welfare in attendance. She goes on to say, when I was a child in school, corporal punishment worked like butter on toast. I received few calls from parents saying that they don't want their child to be punished that way. And that's from Corpin.com, which is the World Corporal Punishment Research. Some of these next things I'll mention are from the Center of Effective Discipline. Corporal punishment tells kids to listen the first time. Fear restrains children from misbehaving and it results in immediate compliance. There are successful adults that were spanked as young children and they turned out just fine. But being spanked is an emotional event, can affect children differently as they grow to adults. It is true that if we weren't spanked, we would have turned out just fine as well. It also has a deterrent effect. Other children who see another child get slapped or hit or spanked are not going to want to misbehave in the same way. For serious offenders in prison, the death penalty is the most severe form of corporal punishment. While all other corporal punishment is prohibited on prisoners, how can we still sentence those serious offenders to death? In 2009 to 10, it cost about $19,000 a year, or about $54 a year, to house, feed, clothe, educate, and provide medical attention for an inmate at a facility. Yeah, it's a lot of money for someone who doesn't want to act like a civil member of society. So why should we keep them in there and pay for them to live when they've killed someone before? You know, they deserve death, and we don't want to pay for horrible criminals to stay in prison. If they murdered someone, the just thing to do would be to put them to death as well. If we don't put them to death, they're also a serious safety issue for society. People that see someone subjected to the death penalty are not going to want to commit that same crime. Although all of these are valid points, I think it holds stronger to see the adverse side of effects of corporal punishment and the effect it has on young people. 80 to 95% of high school and college students report that they were spanked at some point during their childhood. Similarly, 61% of mothers and children between the ages of 3 to 5 report spanking their children an average of 3 to 5 times a week. That's from Giles and Sims, Strauss and Sugarman in 1995. So, what happens when a child learns self-discipline with the application of force? Some of the negative side effects are it creates a negative atmosphere in the home. It can create anxiety, depression, or lower self-esteem later in life. It can promote aggressive behavior and produce negative emotions in the heart. What's that saying, monkey see, monkey do? Corporal punishment communicates to children that violence is an acceptable method of problem solving and a way of dealing with interpersonal communication and conflicts. Parents can feel guilty after they hit their children. For corporal punishment to typically continue working, more punishment, pain, and force may be necessary. As a result, child abuse typically starts as corporal punishment. But I'm not saying that if you spank your kids, it's going to turn into child abuse, because I was spanked but never abused as a child. On the topic of corporal punishment in jail and the use of the death penalty, the negative side effects are, as I see it, a moral issue. Some say it is inhumane. Some say we cannot play God. We are killing someone who is being committed for killing someone. We are committing the same crime. How is that right? And what about the issue of forgiveness and the fact that people can change? Or what if the person we are putting to death was in fact innocent? That's from philforhumanity.com. After seeing the negative effects that corporal punishment can have in the home or in the society, I'm thinking there just has to be an alternative way to get through to people on how to behave or how to be punished. And there is. Use of non-corporal punishment creates safe, loving atmospheres in the home. Promote words instead of actions. Using words creates a respectful relationship between the parent and the child, but be stern with your expectations and your limits. Positive discipline, like using timeouts or the taking away of a toy, is about teaching courtesy, nonviolence, empathy, self-respect, human rights, and respect from others. That's from StopHitting.com. What was that phrase again? Monkey see, monkey do. Think about the long-term goals you want for your children and be positive examples for them. And another option for those serious criminals that are a safety risk for society, instead of the death penalty, perhaps spending the rest of your days in jail without feeling a breeze or a drop of sunshine is a worse punishment than being put to death. The way I see it, and the way I hope you see it, or consider it now, is that corporal punishment is a form of punishment that is unnecessary, especially when many other forms of discipline are available. Negative effects of using corporal punishment outweigh the positive effects by far, and when there are alternate options that don't involve hitting, spanking, or whipping, I urge you to use these in your life and in your choices. Thank you.
Give your side.
I think they know who's filming it.
No, they don't.
Ah.
Oh, great.
Just hit the record button again.